2 or 3 times. I connected with him there. I'd commented on a couple of his blogs, but he and I, maybe once every 2 months, would have a comment back and forth because he knew I was in social media, so in search. So he may, if he had a question, he'd pop a question to me. So when I went over to Viewsy, he saw that my status changed on a lot of my employment stuff. He checked it out, and he was blown away by it. And I thought, well, that's great. He'll do a blog, and that'll be, video blog, and that'll be pretty much all there will be to it. Well, what happened was he went, did the video blog, and then showed it to the producers over at CNN, and they said, run with it. So he then turned around and he did a separate one for CNN.com. Turned out to be the largest single traffic day we've had so far. Basically, they knocked us offline for about 8 minutes. And in the office, we have all these views that we create for people. We have them displayed in the office kind of like artwork. And it'll say like movie view or weather view or something like that, or CNN view or whatever. And in the office, the biggest one we have in the office is the CNN view, but it's an error page off our website saying it can't connect to the database. So this is an example of using Twitter, and the reason why I bring this up, because he's a direct link into CNN, which I wasn't aware of. And in most cases, when you're talking to people on Twitter, you have no idea what their real background is. If you go to Google and you do a search for journalists on Twitter, there is a person that keeps a web page that is nothing but a list of traditional journalists on Twitter and what their Twitter accounts are. Another story about getting connected with traditional media is about, I don't know when it was, about 4 months ago, there was a conference here called Interactive Austin that I came and spoke at, and they had as part of the shtick of the conference they had, and that's actually when I met you in person. They had this shtick where they were running the public Twitter stream on the back of the screen during the event, which I thought was like really crazy, but I couldn't resist, so I got up there and started talking smack. And this guy, Omar G., was on there, and he and I were basically arguing in front of the entire event, back and forth, and kind of talking smack to each other. I had no idea he was the tech writer for the Austin American Statesman. And we weren't being very friendly with each other up online, but he's turned out to be a good friend of mine. And I don't expect him to go and write about Viewsy, but it's something. It's an example of you have no idea who you're talking to when you're doing it. So it's either, if you're going to take on the persona of being fairly aggressive, be able to back up what you're saying, and always kind of be ready for those kind of happy surprises. And we have several examples of kind of people on Twitter that have found us, found the website, and written about us. But this was the biggest hit we had through Chris Perillo. The blogs on CBS, and I'll show you this here in a second. The local TV station, before we got the hit from CNN, one of the reporters on the local CBS station up in Dallas had read a blog post, just a random blog post about us. And this kind of goes into another point I'll make later on too about don't ever turn anybody down for an interview, or anybody, don't ever turn anybody down, no matter how small you think they are, to get access to your product. Because what happened is this woman had stumbled across an article about startups in Dallas. And it was probably a blog post that literally gets read by the writer, his immediate family, and a couple of his friends in cubicles next to him. But she found his blog post, she called us up, and ended up doing a piece on us on the local TV station. And I'll tell you why it's significant here in a second, if I've got volume. We don't. Okay. Well, the significance here is that Channel 11 in Dallas is in last place in the Nielsen ratings. Their key demographic, though, is 18 to 24-year-old women. Before this had happened, we were focusing on techies and nerds in our outreach completely. And we were getting lukewarm response. Typically, we would get, yeah, it's all eye candy, there's nothing behind it, because people would look at it, see how pretty it was, and walk away. Or they would get it on a day when we had unplugged the server, and so it was slow. They go and they do this piece on Channel 11, and before the CNN piece hit, we got absolutely hammered. Like within about 45 minutes after this hit, the servers were just like going off the wall. And it amazed me, number one, the fact that we had reached that demographic and had such an amazing response from them. And now it opened up a whole new avenue for us as far as where we're going to focus our social media efforts now. We will do advertising on mommy blogs. We're going to visit food events and things like that. And we're going to spend a lot more time like at music festivals and stuff like that. But the bigger thing that really threw us off was how much traffic the number 4 TV station in a local market can generate for you. And they generated in 45 minutes over 16,000 hits off our site. And one thing that's kind of interesting about that is it's not an easy name to remember. It's not an easy name to spell. And all these people were looking at this piece on TV and going directly to the web and typing in it and looking at it within 45 minutes afterwards. And so if you can go and make a connection to a local newspaper, local TV station, you go do your research and find out if any of these people are blogging, comment on their blogs, add value. If you find they're on Twitter, engage them in conversation, because you have no clue the kind of impact it can have on you. And this is the kind of stuff that builds on the entire campaign that you're running. Last example for us is kind of the groundswell. So we're doing this stuff, and we've been out in the marketplace for about 2 months at this point. And we've got a website that's viewsypress.com, and I list every hit we've gotten from as many blogs and traditional media outlets that I can track. And essentially what starts happening after you start getting a hit from Twitter here, a hit from Twitter there, I got an interview for CNET by going and commenting on the guys. I saw this guy, Andrew Major, who always was at these events in San Francisco, and I'm a big, I'm not a very good photographer, but I love looking through people's pictures, just because I'm a fan of amateur photography. And so he and I connected through Flickr. Well, we went to the iPhone Dev Camp a couple of months ago, and this guy was there. I sat there and I'm talking to him and stuff. He comes up to the desk, give him a sticker. He's a big fan. Give me a T-shirt, and my boss wants a T-shirt. Blah blah blah. Guys with tech, I've seen that. And so the next day I get a Twitter from him saying, "Hey, do you want to have lunch?" Sure, I'd love to have lunch with you. Gives me the address. I go to the address, and I'm at CNET. He invites me up to his office to introduce me to a couple of people. And Rafe Needleman, who's the senior editor at CNET, is sitting there wearing a Viewsy T-shirt. Turns out he's a fan too. So we ended up getting written up by Andrew Major. We've gotten 2 write-ups by Rafe Needleman so far. And one write-up from Nafe was lukewarm. The other one was great after I sat down with him and explained to him the entire concept behind the product. Again, that's an example of you don't know who's out there. And you can't spend all your time like surfing through every little thing, but you've got to spend a lot of time out there and make sure that whenever you're communicating with people, you assume that this could be the one that's going to give me access that I need to get that big hit out in the industry. And then once you get that big hit, you keep doing it, because then what starts happening is you start getting write-ups in Advertising Age and Wired Magazine and Inc. and a lot of other spots. And you can look at this website and find out that we're getting all this major press coverage, and we haven't paid a single penny to a PR firm. We haven't put a single advertisement out anywhere. This has all been done literally 40%, 30% of all this work is done through nothing but Twitter. The other places we spend time are on the videos, and that one video was lots of action. I know that that's probably beyond what most people's skills are with iMovie or Windows Movie Maker, but that was made with consumer video product. I mean, it was made with a sub-$1,000 camera, and it was made with a basic microphone, and a lot of time editing, and a lot of people getting on my nerves to no end saying that this little pixel was out of place. But we've got a really nice looking piece now that we can send around and we can be proud of, and that video itself has gotten over 35,000 views now on Viewsy TV alone, and it's also distributed in other places. So it pays to spend some time on those videos. But the other interview stuff, I mean, the stuff that we're doing here, I mean, this is an example of spending time doing the interview, because people who aren't able to be here, whether they're local or whether they're in other parts of the country, Austin's a huge tech hub, and this will draw a lot of traffic. And if we go and we associate specific hyperlinks to this stuff,